Welcome back, 9 to noon. Minnesota Timberwolves, Friday night. Minnesota Wild, tonight. 7 o'clock-ish. Let's call it 7:10 puck drop on your home for Wild Hockey, the Fan. Little pregame Fallness Festival prior. He'll probably join the action with 20 seconds left to go in the national anthem, as is typical for Kevin Fallness. But joining us now, he's always on time, and we find him wherever he is. It's Michael Russo of The Athletic, at Russo Hockey via X. He does a terrific job for The Athletic, does a terrific job for a multitude of our shows here on The Fan. How you doing this morning, Mr. Russo?
Very good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and hopefully that sound in your voice, hopefully that isn't the dim pessimism of a potential elimination game tonight at Ball Arena, but you were with Barrero in front of Game 4, and you permitted yourself to prognosticate if the Wild win tonight, I believe they'll win the series. And the team didn't come through for you, Mr. Russo, and we're all disappointed in that.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute, in my opinion, no-show. And yet, somehow in the third period, they wound up tied, and it still took them only a couple minutes to blow the game. And obviously, I don't know if just the style of play is just too hard for them at this point in the season to commit to on an every-night basis, but it was like they put every single ounce of effort with their backs against the wall into Game 3. And then just weren't willing to, play that same style in Game 4. Now, obviously, the Colorado Avalanche had a lot to say about that. They showed why they are a true contender, and they absolutely adjusted and were on top of the Wild and all that stuff. But it's shocking when you're at home in a game where you know that if you win, you have a real good chance of putting yourself in position to win a series, and you get 4 shots by the 30-minute mark of the game, essentially, and go 19 minutes without a shot. It was really a horrific, performance in my mind by them. And they paid the piper for it. And what was so disappointing about it is that, it was really the first 2 lines that were just terrible and just not willing to, or in John Hines' words, which I think were pretty direct, consciously decided not to play the way that they were supposed to, and that was getting pucks deep. And look, that's a hard game to play because you have to go get the puck back.
Yeah.
And just aggravatingly, their top players on the top 2 lines just continually turn pucks over, and that just leads into what Colorado wants to do, and it just creates a cycle of shift after shift after shift, where by the time you make a line change, you're already back on your heels.
And it's amazing too, because, following this league and this sport, like you have done for so many years, you'll have series go the wrong way with puck luck or late game circumstance or any of those things. And for the Wild, the conversation has been, start first historically in their playoff games. The team who scores first wins those games. This can be a momentum factor. They kind of had everything served to them early on. Manson with the stupid butt ending thing, that putting a stick into McCarron's face, or neck rather. They had that. They get the first goal, and still you get the finished product. And that's part of what still sticks in my craw a day and a half later, too.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're obviously, Colorado was missing some key players there, too. But, there's no doubt that the Eriksson and Brodin, injuries have put them right into a bad spot coming into this series against this specific team. And we saw it that game alone. I mean, Eriksson out for Urov, and that Urov gets absolutely, that was his one-sided domination that I have ever seen a line, have, from Colorado's standpoint. Like, Urov is out-attempted 21-0 on the ice. Gus Johansson 18-1 at 5-on-5. Boldy as well. And I mean, they were just hemorrhaged. And then, so, Eriksson is obviously in that position. Not that it would have changed everything, but clearly that has affected that line. And then you look at the 2 shifts in the third period after the Nico Sturm goal that Quinn Hughes wasn't on the ice for, and Jake Middleton turns it over and Damon Hunt turns it over. And so, those are areas where Brodin would probably be on the ice. And those, look, they're shorthanded, and it's definitely killed them in this series, but I think Colorado has shown why they've always been such a formidable opponent.
Yeah, I read your piece you and Joe put together, and that quote, we did a bit of it yesterday, 9 to noon, talking about, specifically the conscious decision aspect of a very short presser from John Hines after Game 4. It does feel, though, Foligno in the mix. So you did some good work on this. There's kind of no ambiguity. It sounds like the team and the coach are on the same page about that in that regard, the conscious decision, and that has to change, of course, tonight, or they're all golfing.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, at least the bottom 6 guys agree. And they're the ones that would play that game. And look, I get it. Sometimes, Marcus Foligno has a belief on the way that this team could play, but that also serves his ability level, and he wants to get pucks deep and he wants to pound flesh, and clearly that's his game. And so when when the first 2 lines are playing East-West hockey, he's the one saying it. But the double-edged sword with that, which gets, it's a conflicting apparatus, really, in a lot of ways, is that when the top 2 lines are going and when Kaprizov and Boldy are making plays, they're able to score sensational goals. So when it works, and that's how they usually score their goals.
Yeah.
So it's a real tough conflict that you have because, you got to allow them the ability to make plays. But the one thing that we have seen with this Colorado series in particular is that against this specific team, if the Wild want to get into track meets with them and play high chance hockey, it's going to end poorly for the Wild. And so they saw a template in Game 3, and it really was led by guys like Kaprizov, getting the puck in and creating offense off physical forechecks and things like that. And then they away from it from Game 4. And I think that's where John Hines definitely let his frustration out after that game, because it was very obvious to them that they had this game plan that worked in Game 3, and the Wild strayed from it in Game 4.
So who are the loudest voices in the room? Like into a game like tonight, are there a player or players that are, it's kind of the climb on my back, boys. It's do or die, boys. Who are the loudest voices that are engaged in those sorts of conversations where they're reflecting on, getting away from the things that help them win Game 3, getting back to things that can help them win Game 5?
Well, I mean, look, they have a lot of guys in that room that speak up, or they're, other than the Folignos, or they're guys, get on my back and scream and holler and things like that. Bogo, those guys, they're not the highest skilled guys. But what Kaprizov and Boldy usually do is just follow them on the ice, and that's where they show their leadership usually an every night basis. Same thing with Rock Faber or Quinn Hughes. They're not the loudest guys maybe in the room, but certainly in their effort level on the ice and their ability level on the ice, they're the guys that are going to have to lead the way tonight. So, I mean, I really do expect that we're going to see, a full throttle effort by guys like Boldy and Kaprizov tonight. Boldy specifically has had a just terrible series. I don't know if I don't know if it's a fatigue factor. I mean, this guy has played a ton of hockey this year. He took some really dangerous, dirty hits in the Dallas series. I don't know if he has the effects of that. He was obviously hammered at the end of Game 1. I don't know if he's affected by that, but he just has not been himself and not going to the high traffic areas and turning pucks over left and right. And this is not just the excuse cannot be that just Eriksson Ek isn't in the lineup and that's affected him. Yeah. Obviously, we all know the importance of Eriksson Ek to Boldy, to Zuccarello, to Kaprizov. But on the power play the other night when Boldy 3 different times on entries turned the puck over and wasn't willing to just dump a puck, that's on him. That's not the excuse of Eriksson Ek not being in the lineup. So he has got to be better. Kaprizov's got to be better. Zuccarello's got to be better. And if they're all give play to their abilities tonight against a very good opponent, I still think that they can extend the series. But it's really going to start with them tonight.
I've been taking some listener talkbacks throughout the first hour. We'll continue to do so throughout the show. And I got a verbal version of someone down on their knees begging for insight and an idea as to why specifically the power play and the penalty kill seem to lag in the playoffs. And to his credit, noting the idea that coaches have changed, players have changed over the course of time. Mm-hmm. I was kind of going down the road. This was, a top 5 power play in the NHL during the season. Hasn't been, of course. The Avs on the other end of it lagging during the regular season, but they got world class on that effort. So that's been flipped a bit. Anything that you've seen that leads to that being a consistent part of conversations about the Wild in the postseason?
Well, the power play has been the one that's been shocking to me because they were so good during the regular season, third best in the NHL, and it feels like they've gotten really, really passive. Like the reason why the Wild have been so good, especially since Quinn Hughes got here, is that they're so unpredictable and just the way that they move, the way that they put different players in different positions and have all sorts of set up plays, and it just has not come into fruition at all in the playoffs. Now they are playing exceptional penalty kills. These couple teams that the Wild played so far have been great in that area. The penalty kill is the one that drives me absolutely nuts because this is a perennial problem. And it is, as the talkback person mentioned, I mean, it's different personnel, it's different coaches. This is the same coach that coached the penalty kill at the Olympics, and they were absolutely perfect. So that to me tells me it's a personnel issue. Matt Boldy was one of their best penalty killers during the regular season. He has been analytically their worst in the playoffs. So again, that just leads me to wonder if he's healthy, if he's tired, if he's just not on top of his game. Jake Middleton, last year, as bad as their penalty kill was their best penalty killer. This year in the playoffs, even though they were, really good down the stretch in the regular season, he's been their worst. The other thing is making saves. Like in Game 3, Jesper Wallstedt made the saves when it mattered, when it was 0-0 and 2-0.
Yeah.
To preserve that tie and the lead there. Their penalty kill going into Game 3 was .620. Their save percentage. I mean, that just shows you they're also not getting saves from Wallstedt. So they've got to just be better. But there's no really rhyme or reason other than this is a perennial problem that they have never figured out, and it always rears its ugly head in the playoffs, and it kills them.
Is there just getting text messages and things and thinking over it myself? Is there a reflexive instinct in spots like this to make huge changes? It's like anything left in the bag for Hines in an elimination game, we're going to try. We're going to throw 97 and 12 together for extended shifts. We're going to split Hughes and Faber. Season's on the line. Nothing is off limits. Is that where we're at with this, or is it more of the mental and getting back to the conscious decision making on the positive side?
Yeah, there's just really not a ton. Like, I'll obviously when we see what's going on at the skate, although they're having an optional today, so I don't know if we'll see line rushes. I'll obviously put that out.
Yeah.
The first thing I would do, but I don't know how easy it is to break up that Urov, Johansson, and Boldy line because they were horrific last game, and that they cannot afford that again. But again, what's your option? Just throw in Hunter Haight for his first ever game and take out Urov, who did score a goal last game. Is it move Michael McCarron up to the second line? Like, this is the problem. They did leave themselves deficient at the center depth position by not making a move really significantly for a top six guy at the deadline, and now they're not able to afford the Eriksson Ek one. Same thing with Brodin out. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to put in Matt Kierstead? Like, there's just not a ton you could do right now. So unless you're putting in a Bobby Brink tonight and taking out a Nico Sturm, which I can't see, I think they're just going to go with the lineup that has gotten them to this position by playing in mid-May and see if they can just get back to their game plan. And when John Hines is routinely, he doubled down on it yesterday, saying that they just got out-competed. When he is saying that, to me, what that's telling me is that he knows there's not many lineup, if at all, lineup changes he can make, and that their only hope here is that this team follows the game plan that allowed them to win in Game 3, and that they've seen works when they play that way. So I think it's more going to be try to get everybody into the same mental mindset today to play the right way.
Wow. That's awesome. And awesome perspective, I should say. Tough spot for the hockey team, obviously. Just time for a couple more here. Michael Russo, The Athletic, at Russo Hockey via X. Just kind of having fun with it. This is an awful situation for the Wild with down 3-1 in the series. But if there's a Wally, is there a way? Wallstedt, having conversations over the last 36 hours or so, just the faith behind Wallstedt just continues to skyrocket. Where are you at on that and Wallstedt's ability to potentially be a factor in winning tonight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to have to be great because, Nathan McKinnon, Marty Necas, they're going nowhere. The other night, Ross Colton, that was his best. And I've covered Ross Colton in a ton of playoff games between when he was on the Devils and obviously here. And he is just he's a relentless player. But the other night was as good as I've ever seen him play. So they're getting that he was on the second line that night, but they're getting great play from their top 1 through 4 lines, and so there's going to be lots of points in tonight's game where Wallstedt's going to probably be called upon to make some huge saves. And obviously we didn't see him do that in game 1 in this building. So they're going to need that to get done. And he was, I thought, really, really good last game in a position where the Wild were showing him no offensive support, where, Colorado just kept on peppering him. And he was really good. He was great at the end of game 3. So, he's put himself in position after a tremendous Dallas series to, obviously start tonight's game, and it's going to be largely up to him on whether or not they play a home game in a couple days.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him. And with everything that we've talked about, Russo, and the way we're laying this out, like, it's just kind of morose. Like, it's just almost, we're kind of giving a eulogy to a series and to a season. And fairly so. Awful performance game 4, and they could be eliminated tonight. But, there's an aspect of the mindset when you were talking with Barrero a couple days ago, continuing on that vibe, kind of what was in front of, what was at stake, to take advantage of the game 3 win, find your way to game 4. And if you get out of this series, it's kind of a step down in class, right? And I think it looks like Vegas took control of that series from the Ducks. But to that end, the Avs have to feel that too, right? I mean, if we can remind ourselves or lend some perspective, it's annoying now, but this is the best team in the league, and they know what's in front of them if they can get through this great Wild team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that Minnesota or Colorado could beat Vegas or Anaheim. And I've said going into the series that I thought the winner of the series was going to end up in the Stanley Cup final. I will say to your point on eulogizing the team, in 2021, the Wild were down 3-1 and were able to force a game 7 against Vegas. And that was a very different game 3 and 4. If you remember, what was so disappointing about that is the Wild split in Vegas and came home and laid 2 eggs. And went back to Vegas 3-1. So it's a similar situation in terms of the series, but they were able to win a huge game in Vegas, win a huge game at home, and then force a game 7 that they obviously got blown out in. But, same old story, Jonas Brodin got hurt like 5 minutes into that game and was out for the rest of the game. They were just beat up injury-wise, but the Wild were able to force that game 7. Obviously, this history of this organization, all Wild fans know that this is the only organization in history that's ever rallied back from consecutive 3-1 deficits in 2003. Long time ago, different team, but it isn't over. So, one game that's, it's the old cliche, but, they just got to worry about tonight. They can't think about the daunting task ahead of them. But I think Vegas is Colorado's in that same position. I think both these teams feel like they could, easily beat Vegas or easily beat Anaheim. I really do. And so, it's imperative the Wild try to extend the series, and because, for a long, long time post-series, if they don't win the series, they're going to be wondering what if. And that's unfortunately the playoff format that this league has right now, that they had to play these 2 teams in the first two rounds. And we knew that if the Wild got past Dallas, that this would be the scenario. But what they never thought was that Brodin and Ek would be hurt, especially in the fashion that Ek got hurt, which is so beyond disappointing. It's not even it's not even funny. Like, for him to just wipe out and do this to himself, it's just beyond belief.
Well, it's brutal too, because you love and root for Eriksson Ek, you love and root for Jonas Brodin, but whether it was your piece or what you mentioned about playoff past, Jonas Brodin getting hurt early, leaving the game, oft injured, I think was a quote in your piece. That's a trend that whether it's inexplicable, really, how it has happened, but it's costing us.
And it's always them, and it's usually them together. It's just funny because they live in the same building in Minneapolis. But I mean, and they're from the same hometown. So as I've joked before, I don't know if they don't have calcium in their milk in Carlsbad, but it's like anytime these guys, it's the number of broken bones that they have had in their lives, it's got to be between the 2 of them like 20. It's crazy, and they're always in the same spot. But it's a real big conflict because I keep on getting tweets and emails and things like that from Wild fans, like how can they continue to rely on these two? And I get what fans are thinking there, and I'm sure the organization is thinking the same thing. Like, the best ability is availability, and you can't rely on them ever being healthy at the right times. The problem is when they're out of the lineup, we see what it does to their lineup.
Yeah.
So it's a huge conflict. It's not as easy as just Bill Guerin saying, you know what, it's time to cut bait with both of them. We got to move on. Because look at the Wild right now without the two of them. Like they're just and that's the big problem is that they're so important to this team, but yet they're just always put themselves in this position where they're just not available, and it's crazy. Like it's a shame because who knows where the series would be at with the two of them, but unfortunately they just were two massive holes that so far the Wild had not been able to make up for.
Hey, thanks for giving me time this morning on a game day. I'll let you go do your thing. We'll follow you throughout the evening, and hopefully we get to chat about a Game 6 Friday night in St. Paul.
Okay, see you, Nordo.
All right, thanks, man. That's Michael Russo, The Athletic, at Russo Hockey via X. Season's on the line. 7 p.m. tonight, Game 5. It is truly amazing, and what a predicament that our favorite hockey team is in, and just watching when Brodin's on the ice, when Brodin is on the ice, when Eriksson Ek is on the ice, XYZ, not just in this series, individually as we look at it and we're living with it. Game 5 tonight, need that W, just in general, and how these injuries have popped up, when they've popped up. Talk about, consistent inconsistency with the Hoops team, consistent unavailability with a couple guys that you absolutely need in your lineup every night for the hockey team. Frustrating at the least. But if there's a Wally, there's a way. And you have to believe with backs on the wall and the season on the line that we need to see our best from this group this evening, however which way it turns out. Thanks to Russo. I think availability later this hour, and maybe we'll get the backside of that media availability with Joe O'Donnell, who's going to join us about an hour from now from Denver for more opinions and insight into Game 5 with the Wild. Max Fuller produces, and I'm Nordo in for PA. A little vocal maintenance for the host. He'll be back in the mix. You know what? Really, I shouldn't tell you about this, but I suppose I will. The host needed to take today off to prepare himself for the NFL schedule release tomorrow. That's why he's taking the day off today. It's not because he's sick. It's not because he has previous engagements, potentially with a certain coach of whatever team. Nope. It is schedule release day tomorrow. And the host of 9 to noon requires max rest and max preparation for what should be a very, very thrilling Thursday. NFL schedule release day. Make it a holiday, if you will. But the host is going to be back in the mix tomorrow, and we'll find out. He's going to have to brush up on his Espanol, it sounds like, as I think it's week 11. It's maybe the week before. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I think. One thing that has been released is the Vikings will be traveling to Mexico City, Estadio Azteca. I think it's called Banorte Stadium. I think that's the sponsor of it. But Vikings and Niners heading to Mexico City. We thought they were going to give us a year off from international travels. At least we're in a good time zone. We dig that part. But Mexico City, that's going to be sweet. We'll talk more about that later in the hour. We're going to run through some news. Thank you for all the texts and talkbacks that you've been pumping through. I want to catch up on those. Maybe we'll do that a bit next segment. But as we pause and go to break, the Fan, along with BigDeck.com, they want to give you a shot at some bonus bucks with the National Cash Contest. This hour's keyword is win. You could win with the keyword win. Enter that at KFAN.com. Again, the keyword is win. The website, KFAN.com.
Eric Nordquist, filling
theater this year. John Mulaney will be there August 22nd, and Blues Traveler and Gin Blossoms will be there September 12th. Get the complete details on all our upcoming shows on the concert page at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Talkback machine.
I think that we'll see the Wild's most dominant performance of the postseason to date. And I do believe that they will come back and win this series 4-3. I think they got a heck of a team.
Do you believe? Do you believe on a Wednesday morning?
Hey, what up, Nordo? Do you believe? 'Cause I believe. We gotta believe. We're gonna win on Friday. We're gonna win on Friday. I believe. And then we're gonna win in San Antonio on Game 7. This is Halsey from Bloomington. Later.
Do you believe on a Wednesday morning? We're getting there. No, I love that. Keep the talkbacks coming. Free iHeartRadio app. Just hit that microphone. Give us up to your best 30 seconds. Sing if you want to. Beg if you want to. Impersonations and bits, Nord Squish, etc. It's all in play. Free iHeartRadio app, as well as the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. Nordo in for PA on a Wednesday. Max Fuller by my side, vibing. You know, it's funny, after the first hour chatting with Parker and then just having Russo radio on last segment. It's crazy. It's not territorial or provincial Minnesota sports pessimism. It's almost awe-inspiring, some of the parallels that both the hockey team and the hoops team have found themselves with these series on the brink as they are. These seasons on the brink as they are. Game 5 tonight. I do believe Halsey in Bloomington. I believe in the Howl on Friday. And y'all don't know football guy. I believe that the Wild will find a way tonight in Game 5. I believe. I'm an adult rube. But just the parallels, man. The conversation around the Wolves' first hour. And in a few weeks, when Max has full use of his jaw, his mandible, etc., he will probably co-sign on this. The issues around an NBA team not being able to defeat what does not appear to be the most innovative form of defense the world has ever seen in Naismith's game, that being a double team. The fact that an NBA team can't figure that out and defeat that, it's mind-boggling at times. At the least, it's head-scratching. As a hat guy on the couch, I remove my hat, scratch my head, replace the hat. My wife says I wear a hat too often. Is wearing it in the shower, wearing it to bed too much? I don't know. My wife Molly says that it is. Anyway, mind-boggling that this team can't defeat these doubles, specifically on Ant. And the battler, the Iron Man that Anthony Edwards is, even last night, you're seeing moments where they get the double, awful spot, corner just over the half line. He'll find an outlet. Let's call it Io. I'm just thinking of one particular moment in last night's game, and it was Io. He gets the ball to DeSumo, who was mostly fantastic last night. Probably our best player, which, what are we? We're splitting hairs here in a lopsided loss. But all the same, I liked Io's game last night. But he gets the ball to Io, but then it instantly becomes advantage defense as Ant is now on the other side. He's on the Spurs side of the half line. He's no longer an option for the remainder of that possession. And I forget who the two Spurs were that were defending him, but they collapse back and they force us into a bad shot. Spurs headed the other way. So an NBA team can't figure that out. And then via the text line, I get this one from 651 guy. Remind Russo the zone entries on the power play have been bad all year. There's been signs. They were just scoring. And then he would follow up with another text. And I'd like to know why an NHL team can't properly enter the zone. And I'm glad Russo pointed that out, specifically in the power play. I mean, how are you going to tell Boldy no? I mean, you probably need to, I guess. But the way Boldy manhandled and possessed his way to a goal in the Olympics, the way that he has gone, I mean, just a handling freaking maestro, Boldy can be and is with the puck. Tries to do that against these Avs. It's like a brick wall at the freaking blue line. Puck gets sent the other way. We regroup. We try again. We try to He-Man our way into the zone again. Puck goes back down. We regroup. Oh, hey, 70 seconds are gone in the power play. The Wild haven't even possessed it in their zone yet. How can an NBA team not figure out the double? How can an NHL team struggle so mightily entering the zone on the power play? Some parallels. Eki, Brodzy, out of the mix. And it kind of stinks, oft injured was the term that Russo used, which is fair and true. And again, the conundrum that is perpetual with that. Both are potentially, you could call them invaluable to this team. Both are unavailable in the biggest spots. How do you predict the future? How do you predict injury? How does that impact value associated with that? On the other side, Ant's working with two bulky knees, and DiVincenzo's gone with the Achilles. The parallels. Man, if Eki and Brodzy were in these spots, here's how it's impacting things. Turnovers in the defensive zone. I mean, Volstead fans on it. That leads to the Colton goal. I believe Parker Kelly scores the third one, and that was, I can't remember whether it was Bogosian, it was Middleton, just bad turnovers. Is that different if your best defensive defenseman is in the mix in Brodin? How do we look on the draws if Ek is in the mix? How does that impact special teams if Jules is operational? Probably does. Well, meanwhile, we're on the Wolves side of things. We can't make shots to save our lives. And earlier I'm discussing, hey, if Wemby's on the bench, let's feast. Let's get to the hoop. Let's force that action. Let's do, frankly, what the Spurs have been doing to us all series. Points in the paint. The disparity is unfreaking believable. Although with Wemby, it's quite believable. But in the end, when Wemby's on the court, we got to do something, right? So whether it was like game one, intelligent attacks, even last night, how about Naz Reid bodying Wemby and finding his way to the bucket? Little muscle. Maybe there was a little personal reminder there too, like, hey, I'm back too. All right, elbow didn't hurt. We good. Check this out, young fella. Maybe there was a bit of that associated with it too. You only saw that the one time. After showing that it could work, we never went back to that. And maybe that's part of Dane. I saw this from Dane Moore last night. Here's a Julius Randle quote. Just didn't have the discipline to do what was working. Offense is tough to come by, so when we find some success in something, we got to keep with it. We just got to have the discipline and patience to do it. Okay, Julius, I agree with you. I agree with your quote. But to that end, if getting in the paint and getting to the hoop is a problem with the unicorn on the court, need to make shots. So the hockey team is sweating. Hey, without these two guys, this is how different it has to be. Without DiVincenzo, where are the triples coming from? Conley, 4 massive ones in game 1. I think he had a couple in game 4 as well that were big. Shot making, specifically from the perimeter. If we're not going to beat Wemby, we got to shoot over him. We saw that in our 2 victories. We haven't seen a lick of it in the 3 losses. Not to mention just selection, but just in the end, hitting those shots. It's been a massive problem. The parallels between these 2 teams, kind of staggering. Despite really, other than geographic location, having nothing to do with each other. And then on the other end of it, at some point these playoffs will come to completion. And you have 2 decision makers in Tim Connolly and Bill Guerin that both have incredibly busy summers ahead of them. There's going to be a Quinn Hughes-related conversation. I think the cap's going up $8.5 million. Maybe we tried for a center at the deadline. We didn't get one. Hey, there's some centers. As soon as my buddy basically texts me just Austin Matthews every single day. I don't know if that's the answer or what that would take. Billy G, busy summer around him, ahead of him. Tim Connolly. Maybe there's a certain player that maybe they tried to move at the deadline, maybe they didn't, and they couldn't, and it didn't work out. Well, the summer's in front of us. Maybe there's another certain player that could be used as part of a package to obtain, if we're going big game hunting, maybe that player's name might be included in the mix as well. Busy summers, the parallels around these two teams. The things that they did so well during the regular season, not seeing it. Important cogs, not in the mix. Personnel-related imperfections leading to home run hitting or home run swinging in the summertime. Incredible parallels between the Wild and the Wolves. But next up, just get a freaking W and extend this thing in Denver and head back to St. Paul on Friday night. Let's get one more at Grand Casino Arena if we can. And we'll continue that chat with Wild Joe O'Donnell at 11:20. I am going to catch up. It's not about fawning over the Spurs, but at 11 o'clock, Jared Weiss covers the Spurs for The Athletic. This is a really good, really young team. In some ways, perspective, it's the Wild. You're playing against the best team in the NHL, and you're undermanned. Similarly, the Spurs were a 60-win team, and that's what we're up against. And these guards are unfazed. Wemby is unfazed by what's in front of them in the Western Conference semis. And it's been impressive to watch. So we're going to get the Spurs perspective from Jared Weiss of The Athletic at 11. We'll pop around with a little news next segment and continue on. Nordo in for PA, vocal maintenance day / NFL schedule release day prep for the host. I'm Nordo in for PA. Max Fuller's with me. It's The Fan.
This is Nordo in for PA on The Fan.
Before we get to news, a truncated segment, I did. I hope this sounds as funny as it read in the transcription.
Nordo, this is Orlando guy. Got breaking Minnesota Vikings scheduling news. They will go 14-3 per my source, Paul Allen.
You're in the NFC title game and you're on your own. After that, happy schedule release. The full schedule, that's where we'll start News to Nord. Let's get to News to Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com, truncated edition as it is. But it is NFL schedule release eve. And we're not in the evening yet. It's happening tomorrow. I think officially around 7 o'clock. And what we're doing, we'll have a special schedule release show tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. And it'll be PA and Pete and Ben. And we'll just kind of sit on our couches, I suppose, on a Thursday night, and we will watch all of the social media teams throughout the NFL doing funny bits. Nothing beats, and you got to find this, Max, your favorite team, the Titans. The Titans bits where they just show logos to random people on Broadway in Nashville.
It's brilliant.
That's my favorite of the schedule release bits.
Them and the Chargers are
Chargers are good too
in their own tier.
Yeah, no, that's A-tier social media work, at least in terms of making, in some ways, an arbitrary, but kind of cool. You get your scheduling plans and everything together. The international games released, though, and you're going to Melbourne, going to Australia. Not you as in the Vikings fans, but you as in Niners and Rams, week 1 in Melbourne. We're going to Rio again, week 3, Ravens and Cowboys. A lot of this has already been leaked, so it's not news to you. But London, you got 3 games in London this year. That'll be Colts and Commanders, Eagles and Jags, and then the Jags again with the Texans. So 3 London games, a Paris game, week 7. It'll be the Saints and the Steelers. How about Madrid? Ooh. Love Spain. Bengals and Falcons, week 9. Going to Munich, back to Germany are the Patriots and the Lions, week 10. And then Mexico City, week 11. November 22nd, Estadio Azteca, or Banorte Stadium in Mexico City. So for those of you Vikings fans that were thinking to yourself, hey, we did double duty last year. That was kind of a grind on us with Dublin and London. I'm sure the league is going to be nice to us this time and let us just stay domestic the entire time. Nope. They're headed to Mexico City. By the way, I just assume, I don't think that this is like they've taken the Wilfs and the Vikings hostage on this. There's an opportunity to market. There's an opportunity to grow the game. And frankly, it's not overseas. It's going to be in our friendly time zone. Appreciate that. So Mexico City, that's going to be absolutely awesome. And I want to go at some point. Maybe it'll be this year. Maybe this is what I find. I have a buddy who's a pilot who does turnarounds in Mexico City quite often. And obviously, it's like, is it safe to travel for Americans? These are the conversations that first pop in people's heads. But for the most part, I've heard nothing but positive things. Millions of Americans travel there and visit there every single year. There's probably bad neighborhoods like there are in any massive metro area. But Mexico City is going to be bumping, and it's going to be Vikings and Niners Week 11. So that's schedule-related news peaks before things lift off tomorrow night at 7. On other news, Minnesota Twins blanked the Marlins yesterday 3-0. Bailey Ober with a full shutout performance, complete game shutout, and I believe it was just 89 pitches, and that's the fewest. I think I saw maybe it was Irvin Santana like 2017, 2018 years ago, but Bailey Ober able to go all 9, just 2 hits, 7 Ks on the day. And just verifying my information that was in my head, it was indeed just 89 pitches. That is the fewest, maybe second fewest, and I think it goes back to like 1992. So impressive work yesterday by Bailey Ober, and I believe they are back at it today. So best of luck to the Minnesota Twins. 640 MLB TV, and it'll be Simeon Woods Richardson. Let's go 2 in a row. Hey, they're feeling good about themselves. Kind of languishing, but it's a bad division, so they got a shot. Just a few games out of first. Appreciate that. Best of luck to the Twins. The Minnesota Wild, we know that they're going tonight. And if they were to, make miracles happen, they may be facing the Golden Knights, who beat the Ducks yesterday. That was 3-2. They're now 3-2 in the series with the lead that the Golden Knights are. And the Sabres beat the Canadiens. The Sabres tying up that series. And if dreams were to be made, it'd be fun to Wild versus Sabres with the Stanley Cup on the line. Kind of cool. Our favorite team not finding its way to the Cup yet. The Sabres haven't made the playoffs in what feels like eternity. That kind of vibe would be kind of cool, although backs up against it a bit. And frankly, those Carolina Hurricanes look unbeatable, at least in terms of the East. Whoever comes out of the West might be game to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. Let's do this. Truncated edition News to Nord, brought to you by The Casino, Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Feeling the felt, watching the horses live as that kicks off Memorial Day weekend. CanterburyPark.com is the website. We're going to pause, come back, and meet Jared Weiss, who covers the Spurs for The Athletic, theathletic.com. We're going to chat more about this Howell and Spurs series. Next, as the final hour kicks off, Wild Joe Radio around 11:20. That's on tap here 9 to noon on The Fan.
Eric Nordquist, filling in for PA.